Hi, I'm with Andrew. We're waiting for the guests to come, the stars to come, and he's been telling me about the latest news on our football. Liverpool, there's been a court case today, and here's the results. He's going to tell you about it. He seems to know a lot about football and the Evening Standard. Here he is.
Hi, well, big developments today, and a bit of a shock for our American colleagues who, over the last 5 years now, have come over to the UK to try and take a very active role in the most lucrative sporting franchises, which is a very American phrase, in the world, which is the English Premier League. The two biggest clubs historically in this country are Manchester United, with the biggest fan base, and Liverpool with the biggest bulging trophy cabinet, as was up until a few years ago. Both clubs are now in a state of some disarray down as a result of the direct at first investment of their American owners. At Manchester United, the Glazer family are running Manchester United to a great deal of success on the pitch, but accruing massive debt off the pitch, and trying to explore further income streams to service the debt. Liverpool, some 25 miles west of Manchester, and traditionally United's biggest rivals, have today, as we can see from the court decision, basically lost their two American owners, although they might be about to gain a new one. John W. Henry, I think it is, who owns Boston Red Sox. What has happened today? Boston. Come, how crazy of me.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
They can't hear me.
All right. So today's court ruling was basically a result. The legal action was brought by the two American owners of Liverpool, Tom Hicks, George Gillett, who have had a very disharmonious relationship, particularly over the last 2 years. They don't even sit in the arena, the Anfield Arena, which is where Liverpool play. They don't even sit on the same match days. It's been a very traumatic marriage themselves to Liverpool.
Is there tribes football?
Oh yes, it's.
If you buy them, you have to be a leader.
Oh, you absolutely have to live and breathe. It's the religion of this country. There is no formal religion here. It's more football is what is, and football club loyalty rather than the national.
It goes down many generations. How far does Liverpool go?
Oh well, Liverpool have a traditional rivalry in their own city of Liverpool with Everton, who play across the park. There's a park in Liverpool called Stanley Park, and the Anfield ground is at one end, and Everton's ground, Goodison Park, is at the other end of Stanley Park. So every Everton fan has been loving the last week as the drama's unfolded in the courts since Monday. And today's news is groundbreaking, actually. It's obviously made, the ruling was made by a British judge, and looking at it as an overall result in favour of a British sporting institution, namely Liverpool FC. He has ruled the following. The two Americans, Gillett and Hicks, appointed a new board of directors in the summer, led by Martin Broughton, himself bizarrely a season ticket holder at Chelsea Football Club, who are a major rival of Liverpool and Manchester United, but with a City background. And he was brought in because of his expertise to find a buyer for an ailing financial balance sheet that the two Americans had, let's face it, had self-imposed upon Liverpool by running the club into huge debt, set against the promise of building a new 70,000 seater stadium in the city of Liverpool. Liverpool currently inhabiting a 40,000 landlocked Anfield Stadium. So they've reneged on all their promises. The Liverpool fans have staged many protests inside the ground before on match days, before kick-off, and today has been the culmination of Hicks and Gillett trying to seek to re-establish authority over who they would like to sell the club to. And the judge has basically ruled that Broughton, the man they brought in only 3 months ago, is legally entitled to sell the club on behalf of the American owners, in spite of the fact the American owners don't recognise Broughton anymore. They recognise him as the chairman, but they don't recognise his authority to go looking for the best deal on the table. This is all down to money. It's because they feel that the £300 million offer on the table from the owner of the Boston Red Sox, which has been superseded in the last 36 hours by a Singapore billionaire called Peter Lim, who has offered $360 million, has now been deemed by the judge in the law courts today as legally binding. Broughton can sell the club to either Lim or the Boston Red Sox owner, and Hicks and Gillette are powerless, this side of a court of appeal, to do anything about it, which is a massive bit of news for Liverpool Football Club and its fans, who have, as I say, campaigned long and hard to get the Americans out, even though they might be bizarrely getting one back in. But they're just happy to see the back of Hicks and Gillette, and it's a very big development at a very big football club. And as you quite rightly say,
it's a good lesson to these Americans, thinking they can come and...
The Glazer lesson is, at Manchester United still has some way to run, and the end game there is very difficult to forecast, because United continue to do fairly well on the pitch. The Liverpool drama has coincided with Liverpool's worst start in the Premier League for 40 years. They are third from bottom of the table. Had they lost the appeal today, the Royal Bank of Scotland, who basically own Liverpool because the debt of some almost £300 million is owed to, and Royal Bank of Scotland is now owned by, substantially part owned by the British taxpayer. Had this ruling gone the other way, the Royal Bank and the club had not been sold, and by the way, the club has not been sold yet. They still have to work through the offers on the table, and they could collapse overnight. But had all that collapsed on Friday morning, the RBS quite legally could have called in the debt. Liverpool would have gone into what we call administration, and Premier League rules state the immediate deduction of 9 points, which would have been a disaster. So there we are, breaking news. Leicester Square, London.
And where they can contact you.
Andrew Threlford, Reuters, and pleasure to talk to you. And I support Chelsea, so I've loved every minute of that.
I bet you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for speaking to us on Blip TV.
Thanks a lot. Tune into Blip TV this time next week for more great news on how Chelsea are going to win the Champions League. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.